You have already flipped a piece over and seen marks. Small, crowded, rubbed nearly flat, and put it back down because you did not know what you were reading. 11 marks on silver, 11 down to 1. Number 1 is the mark that is not there at all. One thing first, these are not decorations. On British hallmarked silver, the assay marks are an independent record that the article met the required metal standard. The sponsor's mark tells you who registered and submitted the piece. The assay office marks tell you what was independently tested. A full British hallmark can give you 4 different clues: the metal standard, the sponsor or maker, the assay office, and, when present, the date letter. But not every period uses the same set, and the sponsor is not always the workshop that made the object. Number 11. The ones that mean nothing. Before the marks that pay, the ones that do not. EPNS, electroplated nickel silver. A 1. First quality plate, triple plate, quadruple plate, silver on copper, Sheffield plate, which sounds like hallmarked silver and is not. These 4 phrases appear on tens of millions of objects. Tens of millions of objects carry these. They are worth what the object is worth, which on a worn plated piece is usually very little. Sheffield plate deserves a separate note because it catches people out more than the others. It is genuine silver, fused to copper, and it was made before electroplating existed. Early Sheffield plate has a collector market of its own, but it is not hallmarked silver, and the two are sometimes confused. The tell is the edge. Sheffield plate often shows a copper core where it has worn through. Read the full mark, not just the word silver. A number, a standard mark, a date letter, an assay office symbol. That combination means something. EPNS or A1 or plate means it does not. That distinction is the foundation of everything that follows. Number 10. The 925 mark. A small stamped number on the base, the underside of a handle, or the shank of a spoon. 925. Sometimes boxed, sometimes with the word sterling beside it. 925 means 92.5% silver, the sterling fineness standard. It is a fineness statement, not proof of authenticity by itself, so do not stop reading when you find the number. Look at what sits beside it. On many American pieces, you may also see the word sterling and a maker or trademark. On a modern UK hallmark, the 925 fineness mark appears as part of the official hallmark alongside a sponsor's mark and an assay office mark. Hallmarks can be applied by a traditional punch or by laser, so a raised ridge is not a reliable authenticity test. The useful habit is simple. Find 925, then widen the view. Read the maker or sponsor, the assay office or country marks, and the construction of the object before you decide what the number means in context. Number 9. The lion passant. A small lion walking to the left on most later English silver, one paw raised, inside a shaped cartouche. Earlier London examples can be guardant, with the lion looking toward the viewer. The lion passant is the traditional English sterling standard mark and has been used with changes in form since 1544. On an English piece, it is a strong sign that you are looking at sterling rather than plate, but always read the rest of the hallmark set as well. Look at the pose. The lion passant walks. A lion rampant stands upright on its hind legs and belongs to a different marking tradition. The distinction is useful, but the full row of marks is what identifies the piece. The shape of the cartouche around it changed over the centuries. A specialist can narrow the date from the shield shape alone, so the lion passant does 2 things at once. It confirms sterling, and it begins the dating process before you have read anything else. Number 8. The date letter. A single letter inside a shaped shield. The letter changed every year. The shield shape changed with each cycle. Together, they give you the year of assay. This is where people give up too soon. The letter is often worn nearly flat by regular polishing, and it is case-sensitive. Uppercase A and lowercase a are different cycles, different decades. Take the piece to a window in raking light. Light at a very low angle across the surface. Letters invisible in flat light cast tiny shadows in raking light and become readable. Every assay office ran its own cycle, so the same letter means different years in London, Birmingham, Sheffield, and Edinburgh. The office mark tells you which table to use. Number 7. The maker's mark. 2 or 3 letters in a cartouche, sometimes with a small symbol, the registered mark of the silversmith or firm that submitted the piece for assay. Most marks belong to trade names in reference books, but some are worth slowing down for. Paul Storr registered in London in 1793. Paul de la Marie worked in the first half of the 18th century. Hester Bateman registered in 1774, and her mark appears on pieces that now sell well into 5 figures. Do not assume a maker's mark is anonymous. Write down the letters and any symbol beside them. Photograph it on your phone with Raking light so the details are clear. Then, look them up at the Victoria and Albert Museum's online database or in any standard silver reference before you make any decision. 2 scratched initials may have a name behind them that changes the number entirely. This next mark is the one that dates a piece without needing the date letter at all. Number 6. The assay office mark. Each British assay office had its own symbol. London used the leopard's head. Birmingham used the anchor. Sheffield used the crown on silver until 1973 and the rose thereafter. Edinburgh used the castle, while Dublin used the harp in the Irish system. Here is the part that moves money. Some offices ran for only part of the history. York, Norwich, Exeter, Chester, and Newcastle all closed at different points. A piece marked by a closed office is automatically dated to within the years that office operated. Newcastle closed in 1884. Read the office mark first when you are working through a row of hallmarks. It tells you which reference table applies to everything else. A genuine mark from a closed office can narrow the possible date immediately. But hallmarks can be forged, so never authenticate a valuable piece from one symbol alone. The office mark, date letter, standard mark, and sponsor or maker mark have to make sense together. Number 5. The duty mark. A small profile portrait of the reigning monarch, struck into silver to show that excise duty had been paid, used in Britain between 1784 and 1890 only. A piece carrying a monarch's head is automatically dated to within that window, and the portrait narrows it further. George III looks different from George IV, which looks different from Victoria. The absence of the duty mark can also be useful, but only when the rest of the hallmark is complete and consistent. On British silver that genuinely falls outside the duty period, no monarch's head is exactly what you would expect. A rubbed or incomplete row is different, so absence alone is not proof. On a securely identified Georgian piece, a complete hallmark with no duty mark can point to a pre-1784 date. That can move the piece into an earlier and sometimes much more valuable period. Number 4. The Britannia standard mark. 2 marks, often confused with the lion passant. The Britannia standard was introduced in 1697 and shows a seated female figure, which is Britannia, alongside a lion's head erased, which means the head shown is cut off at the neck rather than attached to a body. These 2 marks together mean the piece is Britannia Standard Silver, which is 95.8% pure, considerably higher than the sterling standard of 92.5%. The Britannia Standard was compulsory from 1697 to 1720 and then became optional. A piece with these marks dates to 1697 at the earliest, and was probably made either before 1720 during the compulsory period or by a deliberate choice to use the higher standard after that. Do not confuse the seated Britannia with a decorative figure. The hallmark version is always small, struck with a punch, and accompanied by the lion's head erased in a separate punch beside it. The lion's head erased shows the head only, cut off at the neck, which is the detail that distinguishes it from the lion passant. When both of those marks appear together, you are looking at a higher silver content than the sterling standard, and a piece dated to 1697 at the earliest. The next 2 marks are both traps, but the one after this is the one that makes people throw away continental silver. Number 3. The sponsor's mark. This is the mark people most often mistake for a guaranteed maker's signature. A sponsor's mark identifies the person or company that registered the mark and submitted the article for hallmarking. Sometimes that is the manufacturer. Sometimes it is a retailer, wholesaler, importer, or another sponsor entirely. So, two pieces with the same sponsor's mark do not automatically come from the same workshop. Read the initials and the shape around them, then use the assay office and date letter to find the correct registration. The mark gives you traceability, not always authorship. Number 2. The import mark. Continental or foreign silver imported into Britain for sale had to be submitted for assay and received its own marks, different from British-made pieces. Imported gold and silver could not simply be sold as though they were British-made. The Customs Act of 1842 required imported precious metal to be assayed in Britain before sale. From 1867, imported wares received a special foreign mark, an F added to the British hallmark. In 1904, the import system changed again, using decimal fineness and special import assay marks. Here is why it matters. A continental piece can carry its original foreign maker's mark alongside a British import hallmark. Identifying both groups opens two different reference systems. Russian, Scandinavian, German, and French silver may be worth far more because of the original maker than because of the British import mark beside it. And number 1 is the mark that is not there. Number 1, the worn or missing mark, a piece of silver with no readable marks at all, or with marks so worn they cannot be identified. Your check tonight. Do not use the absence of marks as a reason to melt. Some genuine early silver was marked lightly, and those marks have been polished away. Some pieces came from small provincial workshops that used a single punch. Some are continental pieces that were never submitted to a British assay office. Before you sell an unmarked piece by weight, do two things. Feel it first. Silver has a specific density. A heavy piece with an even color and a surface that responds to a polishing cloth is worth a second look regardless of whether the marks are legible. Then take it to an auction house specialist or a reputable dealer for a free assessment. 5 minutes. Costs nothing. The only way to know for certain whether the marks that are not there were ever there at all. The most expensive unmarked silver is the silver that went into the melt because nobody checked. The habit is simple. Read the whole mark, not one symbol in isolation. Look for the fineness or standard, the sponsor or maker, the assay office, and the date letter when one is present. A complete, consistent set gives you a documented starting point. Some readable marks still give you clues. None readable is a reason to ask, not a reason to sell. A mark is not just a stamp. It is 400 years of the trade telling you exactly what it made. Then go and flip something over. Tap like if this was useful. Subscribe for more. And tell me below what mark you found.